and during the virtual meeting. It has established these options. 1, during the meeting, the public can provide public comments via telephone by calling 1-408-418-9388 and follow the prompts. The meeting ID is 129-437-0812. Individuals will be able to speak for 3 minutes during the public comment period. Again, to make a public comment today during the meeting, members of the public should call 1-408-418-9388. The meeting ID is 129-437-0812. This line is being monitored by PSTA staff who will inform me, and I will call on you to speak at the appropriate time. The second option allowed for the public to submit written comments prior to the meeting by mail to PSTA. However, to date, it is my understanding we do not have any public comment. Is that still correct in the written format?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Third option allows the public to submit comments via email before or during the meeting at publiccomments@psta.net. That's public comments with an S at psta.net. If the public comments received before or during the meeting are 400 words or less, we will read them aloud during the meeting at the appropriate time for public comment. Public comments that exceed 400 words will be provided to the board members in writing. Any documents that the public submitted to the clerk have been provided to the board members prior to the meeting. All comments submitted will be included as part of the public record for this meeting and will be considered by the committee prior to any action being taken. When addressing the committee, the member of the public must first state his or her name and his or her address. Okay, so I'm going to call the meeting to order to confirm that we can all speak and see each other. So we will do that now. Okay, Pat Gerard is absent. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, Gina Driscoll. Commissioner Driscoll, are you here? I know you're here.
Here. Good morning.
Yes. Good morning. Commissioner Janet Long.
I'm here.
Commissioner Dan Saraki.
I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning. And also I am here, Commissioner Joe Barkley. Okay, this is the time for public comment. Are there any members of the public on the phone who wish to speak?
There are no members of the public on the phone currently.
Okay, good. All right, first action item is to approve the January, I don't think it's January 10th. Is it January 10th? Is that the last meeting?
That's the last meeting we had, yeah.
Okay, wow, okay. To approve the January 10th minutes, please state your name.
Move approval?
Okay, Janet, was that you?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
it
Dan
is.
Saraki,
Okay,
second.
okay, and Dan Saraki seconds. Okay, roll call vote. Gina Driscoll. Commissioner Driscoll?
Yes. Driscoll, yes.
Okay. Commissioner Janet Long?
Yes,
Commissioner Dan Saraki?
Yes.
And myself, Commissioner Joe Barkley, vote yes, passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, next on the agenda is informational items with regard to our scorecard, and Trish Collins is going to lead us through that. Go ahead, Trish, please.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Barkley, and good morning to our board members. It's really a pleasure to be back with you. It's been a while since I've presented to you. What I'd like to do today is share the performance scorecard, which we are putting up on the screen here. This is PSTA's balanced scorecard that I know that you're all familiar with. And we, at this point, have recorded our scores for quarters 1, 2, and 3. So I'm going to go through our performance and give an opportunity for any questions that you guys have. I know that this may look a little small depending on the size of your screen. I believe it is in Granicus for you as well, so hopefully you've got a good view of it. As you know, we use this performance count scorecard to monitor our performance in our 5 key strategic areas and make sure that we're focusing our resources in the areas that we need to stay on track with our goals. I would like to take a minute to review the structure of what you're looking at. I know that this is quite a lot of information in a grid here. So I like to do a little bit of navigational commentary at the beginning here. As you look at the far left-hand side of the scorecard, you can see the 5 key strategic areas that we focus on. And that is community support, financial stability, customer satisfaction, employee engagement, and commitment to performance. Those are the 5 areas that it's most important for us to do well in. Each of the 5 strategic areas has a set of metrics associated with it, and those are the next columns moving towards the right. And each metric has a particular performance goal that we're trying to hit. Each goal then has a number of points that it's worth if we hit the goal. And as we continue moving to the right, you'll see the points that we've earned based on our performance for quarters 1, 2, and 3. Along the very right-hand column is the year-to-date summary. And that column summarizes our performance in each individual metric for the entire year. So it takes the performance from all 3 quarters and gives you a snapshot of how we're doing so far. I'll draw your attention down to the bottom right-hand corner where that year-to-date score is summarized. And we have achieved a score of 103 points so far this year. That's 103 points out of 100. As you'll recall, we do have the opportunity to earn up to 10% bonus points for exceeding goals to recognize overachievement, if you will. The color coding, the green, the yellow, the red, the color coding in the points columns ties to the color coding legend that's at the top right of the form. Now, we only give ourselves a green if we hit our goal or exceed it. So that's like an A+, we give ourselves a green. We code a metric in yellow if we're within 10% of our goal. So that's like an A, right? But we want to code it yellow because we're not quite there. And we want to flag it that that's an area that needs a bit more attention to get us back on track. And then any metric where we are more than 10% away from our goal, we code in red. And again, that's to draw our attention to it and make sure that we recognize, we're not where we want to be with that goal. We need to do some investigation and see, what the issue is and how we can resolve it. So we are doing very well. As you can see at a glance, we are meeting or exceeding all of the goals that we have on the scorecard for ourselves. You can see there have been a couple over the 3 quarters where we have not met our goal at some point. With Org 4 under community support, that's the state and federal legislative advancements, there was no activity to move those forward during the 2nd quarter. But we are back on track with that now. You also see—
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
may I interrupt for a moment?
Yes, you
while
may.
he's on
Yes.
this? Thank you.
I'm sorry, I do not see your hand go up, Janet. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. That's okay. But I didn't want to go beyond this one
Yes.
because this is the one that I really, really question, especially given Tricia's last remarks here. First of all, we've had our most successful federal initiative in the history of PSTA, and I fail to understand why that wouldn't be reflected there, since we now know we actually have the money. To me, that's incredibly significant, so I don't know why it's in red.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. This is really all about timing. So the 1st quarter ends on December 31st. The 2nd quarter ends on March 30 days, half September, at the end of March. And then the third quarter ends at the end of June. So this is really just taking a snapshot in each column of what activity had happened during that particular quarter. Now you'll see in quarter 3, we did of course reflect that we have received CIG funding, Sunrunner grant funding, TD Trust Fund funding. So we have had a lot of accomplishments, or a lot of our priorities move forward throughout the year. It's really just a question of which quarter those things happened in.
Yeah, I would say that was the state legislative session quarter, which, not that we really sought any specific earmark funding for PSTA, but you're right. I think if we could get extra credit, this would be the time to get extra credit, but we'll just take the green that we're in now. So we're happy.
Well, Brad, I take exception to that with all due respect. As hard as we worked, as many phone calls as we made, not to mention, I do think that we have queued up the opportunity to go back to talk to Jane Williams about any number of things, including the BEAT project. I just really have a problem with that pink showing up there. Just my own personal opinion. We have a hard enough time touting our own horn. It seems to me that we should not miss any opportunity. And I don't like to see that red there. So I'm just saying.
Point well taken. Point well taken.
I think what Janet's going for here is the fact that there was a lot of behind the scenes workings, even though there was nothing specific. Correct, Janet?
Well, it was specific in my mind. I don't know how Brad feels about his own time, but I know I spent time talking to Jane. We got an additional commitment from her that she would love to see us come back with any other projects that we would like to move forward with. And I'm sorry, in the world we live in right now, any little bit of encouragement to me is a big ray of sunshine. And I think we should capitalize on it to the very best of our ability. It also is not lost on me that we have some serious problems going forward with funding as it relates to some of the activity that's gone on over in Hillsborough County. And Pinellas is gearing up right after the first of the year to have a huge transportation initiative. So I think we need all the backbone that we can muster to show strength and leadership and commitment. And that red just smacks out at me, and I don't like it one bit.
Well, I appreciate those comments, and I know that everyone, like yourself, everyone on our staff who worked very hard during that quarter appreciates that as well. The effort that goes into all of these metrics sometimes takes a while to pay off, but that effort is extremely important and valuable. And obviously, our accomplishments don't happen without that front loading of effort put in at the beginning.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I can see where my comments are landing on deaf ears, because with every great positive thing you just said, Trish, you said but. And to me, that just negates everything that you just said. No, I'm sorry if it doesn't sound good, but that's just the way it sounded to me. So go ahead and leave it there at your peril, but I just want to be on the record that I said that doesn't look good, especially for our federal advocates that have worked so hard to set us up. It's like, what were they doing? Nothing? I don't think that's true. They've been on the job every damn day.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. That's you're exactly right. There's a lot of behind the scene, enormous success. What this is a quarterly scorecard. Now, I think we should take a look at that because as you've taught us, we know the state legislative session in Tallahassee and the Washington, D.C. is a year-long process. And the fact that we are sort of grading ourselves every 3 months is probably not accurate. Not the best way to do it, because like you just said, it takes so much background constant focus that a 3-month snapshot probably doesn't do it justice to all the great success we've had. You're right now, the relationship that we've built with Jane Williams has already paid off. We just got a electric bus grant too from the Fed, so we're very excited about that. I don't know what's a better color than green, gold, but yeah, we'll take a look at how we show that scorecard item.
Agreed. Yeah, thank you very much. The other one that I'll just briefly bring your attention to that was that we did a good job in bringing back on track is under financial stability under Org 8. Our passenger trips per revenue hour was slightly below where we're aiming for, slightly below 17 passenger trips per revenue hour in Q1. But that is a metric that has moved back into place as we've gone on throughout the year. So as your comments, I think, illustrate really perfectly, numbers do a good job at summarizing information, but every number here represents a lot of effort and a lot of work on the part of Brad and his leadership, the work that each department is doing towards their own supporting goals, and the work that each individual employee is doing on towards the personal goals that they set with their managers at the beginning of the fiscal year. And at the employee and the department level, those goals all align to support the performance at the organizational level on the scorecard. So I like to talk a little bit about the stories, the work that has gone into some of the behind the scenes. We've already talked about the significant work that's gone into our legislative initiative advancements for this year. I'll draw your attention to, for example, Org 6 under financial stability. That's the third one under financial stability. And that's our financial diversity. That is our striving to make sure that our finances, our revenue is not coming from any one particular source. And of course, that makes our financial position more robust and resilient. We are continuing to get discretionary grant awards, as you know, as have been brought to you at previous meetings. Obviously, the recent $21 million Sunrunner grant, the recent $1.2 million DOT bus and bus facilities grant. Earlier in the year, we received $43,000 for the Eyes of the City Award grant to promote awareness among our bus operators and our employees of human trafficking and what we can do if we notice, kind of a see something, say something situation. So it's wonderful that even in this challenging year, we're still being recognized for our accomplishments and being awarded funds to continue moving forward. I'll also bring your attention to Org 17 towards the bottom of the scorecard. This is an interesting metric, and it's the metric where we're striving to improve our performance in the areas where we lag behind our peers in the American Bus Benchmarking Group. We have sustained improvement in 4 of these areas this year. Vehicle collisions, on-time performance, and diesel fuel effectiveness, which certainly have been impacted in a positive way by our reduced service hours and a long period of less traffic on the road. But I wanted to highlight that we've also improved our performance in driver training hours. And that's included everything from the training that I just mentioned that we won a grant for human trafficking awareness. Also training about driving our electric buses, defensive driving, assault awareness. So we're really putting a lot of emphasis and focus on our driver training and actually improving our own performance year over year. The very last metric is Org 18. That's our Sunrunner project progress. And with this goal, we're measuring our progress with construction drawings and the beach park construction that was recently completed. So that very important beginning of construction to our Sunrunner project is on track, and we love to reflect that on the scorecard. So you can see from our performance, from our score, from the great green that we're going for, that we really are sustaining focus in our five key strategic areas, despite all of the challenges that are happening in the world right now. And again, these are the areas that are really critical for us, that we and the board have adopted to measure whether we're being a successful organization and a valuable member of the community. And I can say with confidence, looking at these performance metrics, that we in fact are. And I'd love to take any other questions or comments.
Any questions? Okay, seeing none, I have a question on the last item that we just talked about. I would suggest we might want to at some point change that title from BRT Project Progress to Sunrunner Project Progress.
Absolutely right. Yes, we'll definitely do that.
Any other comments?
Great job, Trish. Thank you for that great update.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate your help on that and keep up the good work. Okay, next is media updates, and Whitney Fox is going to give us an update on what's happening with the media.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
This is Brad. If I could, we have 4 Bs to go, but if I could just like intro.
Oh, I skipped right over that. I'm sorry. Yeah, 4B.
Nope,
Yes.
no problem.
Let's back up.
Yeah, so let me just introduce Trish on this. So I thought we have basically 3 presentations to the executive committee today as sort of the higher level, as I've kind of described to you. The PSTA executive committee maybe operates in a different kind of way than other executive committees might be on, because we have other committees that meet. So this is a time to kind of, for the leaders of the board to kind of oversee, one, as Commissioner Long has taught me to say, the performance scorecard allows us never to, quote unquote, get, what do you say, go too far over our skis.
Our head over our skis.
Our head over our skis. So as Trish explained there, what she's about to talk about is sort of like the inside scoop on the thing that's affecting all of our lives, coronavirus, and I'm really proud that PSTA is all working together to try to keep everyone safe. And then is my bragging time. I'm going to pitch it over to Whitney, and she's going to knock your socks off with how much we are doing really great strategic things on our media and social media outlets with her team. So with that, we kind of maybe take a pause on excitement and talk about coronavirus, which none of us talk about, but Trish will say the positive things we are doing with that.
Great. Thank you, Brad. I think it's very exciting that we're adapting to a changing circumstance every day, and that we've worked so hard to keep our employees safe. So I'm going to promote that this is an exciting topic. You've heard quite a lot, I'm sure, about the more public-facing ways that we've responded to COVID-19. So we have, for quite a long time now, required riders to wear masks. We've even provided PSTA-branded bandanas and face coverings to riders so that they can do that. We've limited the number of riders on the bus so that everyone can be properly socially distant on the bus, physically distant from each other. We launched the Essential Workers Program. We have increased cleaning and disinfecting of the buses. So all of those are many of the public-facing ways that we have responded and adapted to this pandemic. But today I'm talking a little bit more about the way we've responded internally to support and protect our employees during this. We have well over 600 employees, and they've all really been navigating this in a great way. As Brad said, everyone's been working together, making good choices, making good decisions in order to stay safe. All of us in the leadership team, we take part in many frequent state and national conference calls with our peers, with other transit and public agencies. We're comparing notes, we're sharing ideas and experiences. sharing thoughts on new technologies that we're each trying out. What we're finding is that a lot of the things that PSTA has done have been ahead of the curve. So we have been the first to step out in many areas for the safety and the health of our employees. And that has had a lot to do with the success that we've had in getting through this. We started our response from the beginning with a really important philosophical choice that Brad set for all of us, which is that employee safety comes first. And all of the decisions that we've made and everything we've put in place have been through the lens of employee safety. Excuse me, we enacted measures right away to protect our employees, to limit close physical contact. We provided masks and gloves and hand sanitizer from the beginning. Many of these things, you remember, were quite difficult to get. And our maintenance team and our facilities team did a tremendous job of making sure that these supplies were well stocked and on hand for us from the beginning. So we very early on allowed operators to wear masks and gloves, even when some other transit agencies were not. And then we quickly moved to, it is now mandatory, you must wear masks and gloves. We communicated the importance, as I said, of physical distancing. So that's communicating how important that is to stand at least 6 feet away from your fellow employees, to maintain your physical distance from the public. But we've also changed a lot of areas within our facilities so that physical distancing is just kind of built in. So areas where employees used to congregate in break rooms and employee lounges are now either closed or spaced out. Chairs have been removed so that the few people who are in those areas must be physically distant. Inside our buses, we have done several things to maintain a safety bubble around our operators. As you know, we've installed the plexiglass barriers at the driver area. We've also prioritized rear door boarding for the vast majority of our riders. We still board, of course, folks who request based on ADA or have mobility devices. We board them at the front door, but the vast majority of our riders are coming in through the back. And we also have a thin chain, bright yellow chain barrier that separates the driver area from the passenger seating area. And it's just another psychological reminder that that passengers are to stay in the seating area. And all of those things together have created this safety bubble around our operators so that they're not as exposed and as in close contact with riders, which is a main exposure risk for them. We've also implemented temperature checks at our facility. So as employees are arriving, they're greeted by staff members who have handheld infrared temperature checking devices, doing a touchless temperature check on the forehead. Again, just to ensure that folks who maybe are displaying a fever, which could be a possible sign of COVID-19, are sent home, advised to go see a doctor, and are not coming in to potentially expose other employees. Next slide, please. Brad also made a critical early decision to implement teleworking for employees who were able to perform their duties from home. So in the second week of March, he directed us to begin a pilot program and begin having employees work from home. And within a week, it had gone so well that we required employees who can work at home to do so. This took a tremendous coordinated effort among all of the departments, not least of which is the IT department, who had to very quickly make sure that our network and our servers and our security systems could all be accessed from home by close to 100 people. This has gone very well. Our employees feel safe at home. They're feeling productive, and our managers are confirming that their teams are productive and hardworking. Our employees feel that we have made good decisions for their safety, and they're appreciative of that. So that's gone very well. We are continuing teleworking for the foreseeable future. In fact, the building that you all typically come to or to have these meetings is virtually empty. There are very, very few employees here, and only those whose work cannot be done from home. So nearly all of our office workers are working from home at this point, and it's going very well. In fact, we're continuing to look at ways that we can expand the option to telework to employees whose jobs don't currently allow for it. So as an example, we have 20 people in our customer service department whose primary job is to sit in a call center type environment here on campus and take phone calls from our customers. We are launching a program this month with IT leading the way to completely change the phone system that we use so that these 20 employees will be able to take customer service phone calls from home and expand that teleworking option to another 20 people. So this has really been an opportunity for us to have a paradigm shift, a complete mentality change about teleworking, and understand that it can work, and it is, of course, the safest option to be at home. And by having as many employees as possible stay at home and do their work from there, it also makes it a safer environment for the very few people who do need to come into the office because they're exposed to far fewer people. So that's been a really positive and exciting development over these last few months. Next slide, please. PSTA is similar to every transit agency in that we have a very diverse employee population, and we have to employ a lot of creativity and a lot of different methods to communicate with them. If you can imagine, most of our employees work in the field all day. They're not in front of computers. They don't have work email addresses. So the typical maybe office environment ways of sending an email is not going to reach the majority of our employees. So that's always something that we are adapting to and finding new ways to overcome. But especially in these last few months, we have had an enormous amount of complex information that we needed to convey to all of our employees. Good, safe hygiene practices, policies and procedures, what to do if you get sick, testing resources, community resources, new policies that have gone into place. So lots of information that it was very important for employees to receive. And we have reached into our toolbox and used every method at our disposal and even begun using some new methods to communicate. Our Chief Operating Officer, James Bradford, records weekly robocalls, which is a short, about 3 to 5 minute phone call every single week that gets pushed out to a distribution list. So we all receive this call on Friday afternoons with updates, new announcements, and importantly, kudos to our employees, especially our frontline employees who are doing an excellent job dealing with this. We have had Zoom employee town halls with as many as 90 people on a Zoom call to share information with them. Brad has recorded video messages that have gone out. We use push text messaging, as well as kind of some of the more traditional things like posters, mailbox flyers, and emails. So this has been a continual ongoing effort for us to communicate in a clear way, like I said, very complex and a great deal of information over these last few months. Next slide, please. I wanted to dive in to the data a bit with you all and show you the impact that we've seen on our workforce during this time. So for this slide, we're going to take a look specifically at our bus operators. You know that our bus operators are the largest group of employees that we have here. They make up 61% of our employees. Back in March, Congress began working on what ultimately became the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. That was put into effect April 1st, and it guaranteed paid leave from work for certain COVID-related reasons, like I have some symptoms and I need to get them checked out, or I've tested positive and I've been told to self-quarantine. There are several reasons that qualified under the act. And that was a great thing because it really encouraged and made possible employees to do the right thing, which is to stay home if they're sick. It's one of the most important things that people can do. We had actually implemented some policies to do that, to provide paid leave, even before that measure was announced and put into effect. So we were very glad to see that, that Congress felt that that was important as well. So we have closely managed and tracked that leave program, and we track daily how many of our employees are using leave that's related to COVID-19. This is a graph that shows you the number of bus operators specifically who have been on leave for COVID-related reasons basically since the end of March. I want to clarify that this is not the number of people who have tested positive. I'll talk about that number in a minute. It's far smaller, but I don't want anyone to be scared by the numbers that are on this chart. As you can see, in early April, we hit a high point. We had 74 bus operators that were out, the vast majority of which had some kind of symptom like cough, shortness of breath, fever that they were concerned about that could be related to COVID-19, and they were doing the right thing and staying home and getting checked out by a doctor. After that point, we steadily came down in the number of operators who were out right until about Memorial Day. And then just like the rest of our community, we saw the number of people who had concerning symptoms begin to rise. That kind of had a second lower peak at the end of June. And since then, our numbers of operators who have needed to be on leave has continued to decline to today, where we're actually at the lowest point that we have been, which is a good thing. I'm happy to be at the bottom of this graph right now. That means that, first of all, our safety and precautionary measures are working, right? We're doing the right things to keep employees safe at work. And it also means that employees are they're making smart decisions when they're not at work so that they don't expose themselves to the virus with friends and family and social outings, even as we, as a community, a state, have started to open some things back up. So I'm very, very proud of our employees that they've internalized a lot of the messages that we're trying to get across and are doing the right things to keep them safe. Next slide, please. So I do want to talk with you about the number of positive tests that we have had here. It is a very low number. We saw our first positive test on June 8th. So we actually went quite a long time into the pandemic period before we got our first positive test. We have had 21 employees test positive so far. That's 11 folks from transportation, that's 11 drivers, 9 employees from our maintenance department, and 1 administrative employee. I'm very happy to say that of those 21, 9 of them have already recovered and returned to work. We stay in very close contact with all of the employees who are taking any kind of leave related to COVID to monitor their status, see how they're doing, see what they need. But we particularly stay in close contact with those employees who have tested positive. And I can tell you that they've all done well, even those who haven't cleared back into work yet. We have not had any deaths, thank God. We have not had any serious or long-term hospitalizations. So we're very thankful that even those folks who have been directly exposed to the virus and tested positive are still continuing to do well. And we fully expect that every single one of them is going to return to work. Next slide, please. So moving forward, the guidance, the technologies, the information that we learn through research about the virus is continually changing, and we are taking our cues from the CDC, from local, state, and national information. We are using those as our guiding lights for the choices and the decisions that we need to make. We're also continuing, as I said in the beginning, to keep in very close touch with our transit community and learn from each other about new technologies and steps that folks are taking. We're obviously working very hard to provide a clean work environment, looking at new methods of cleaning, new products, new types of disinfecting to make sure that all of our employees, whether, they might be working at home, but for those employees who are working here on site or in our buses, are in a safe and clean work environment. We're continuing to communicate and promote safe habits so that every employee is owning that personal responsibility to make good decisions and keep themselves safe, and do everything that we can to communicate with and support our employees no matter how this virus is impacting them. And I'd be happy to take any questions about these efforts. We're very working very diligently to make sure that our employees have the best possible experience and that we, as an agency, have the best possible experience through this difficult time.
Any questions?
Mr. Chair, can we change Trisha's Zoom name to PSTA's Anthony Fauci, please?
Good point. Okay. All right. Trisha, I wanted to ask a question about our maintenance people. I concur with the use of work from home status for the folks who are in our customer service department. A lot of companies are doing that, so we're on track there. But there's really not much we can do with our maintenance people. What are we doing to keep them?
Sure. I would say there are at least three things that are very important in our maintenance department. One is that employees are typically working one to a bus. So their work generally has them pretty far distant from each other. They're very physically distant from each other already. Two is that they have access and are required to wear face coverings. Typically, most of them are also wearing gloves because of the work that they do. So the PPE is in place to keep them safe as well. There's another important feature about our maintenance department, which is the fresh ventilation, which research has shown is very important in dispersing the respiratory droplets and making a safer environment. So if you've been in our maintenance department, or if you can picture one garage bay after another in a long column, we have garage doors on both sides of the building fully open and fans throughout the garage bay hallway. So the airflow and the circulation is almost like working outside, which again is enhancing the safety for those employees.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Long, go ahead. I'm not sure if Chair Barkley.
Yeah, I don't see him. But anyways, I just wanted to share with everyone, especially the elected officials, that at our policy leadership call, the last one we had, the rolling average in Pinellas is now down to 4.9. So we're really very proud of that and the work that we've done in the county with the decisions that we've made to get in control of the spread. And as you are out and about, you're probably noticing more and more and more people are being compliant with regard to wearing the mask. And so what we're really worried about right now is how the start of the school year will cause the numbers to spike. So that's what we're keeping our eye on now, hoping for the best, but preparing for not. And I don't know if we're going to talk about it today, but before we end, we probably should get a little bit of an update on what you're doing for hurricane preparedness, because that was a big deal at our commission meeting on Tuesday. Yesterday, seems like forever ago.
Good.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
point. And yeah, you're right. The hurricanes, yeah, PFBA has a very solid plan and lots of experience, of course, just like everybody who's been in Pinellas County does for a long time on that. We're very integrated with the Pinellas County Emergency Operations Center. Anytime they open that up, PSDA is there, have people there. So you're right. We have to walk and chew gum at the same time with these emergencies.
Well, as it relates to the emergency shelters, Brett, I know how instrumental you've been in helping folks with the issue of just getting there, but you know, it's made all the more difficult now with the social distancing requirements in terms of the space that's needed. So that has presented a horrific problem for the county and for, I'm sure, a lot of our municipalities as well. I see Gina, I don't know, it looks like she might be taking notes. And so I think those things are important to keep in mind moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think Julie may be talking to Joe or finding out, but is there any other comments on coronavirus before we move on to fun marketing PR things? Seeing not, let me pass the baton to Whitney to knock your socks off. Go for it.
Julie, do you have your hand raised? Did you want to say something?
I just wanted to let everybody know that Joe internet is down and he will not be returning until it is restored.
Oh, okay. Okay. Go ahead, Whitney.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and get started. Well, good morning, esteemed executive committee members. As you know, my name is Whitney Fox. I'm the Director of Communications and Marketing here at PSTA. We're just going to give you a quick update. Over the past year as director of this department, we've made a lot of exciting changes, and all with the goal of making more data-driven decisions. So not only did we hire our new public relations coordinator, Stephanie Rank, but we also added a completely new position to the team, our digital marketing coordinator, Courtney Grigsby, to focus solely on social media and other digital marketing efforts. And then, of course, this has allowed us to elevate Alyssa Kostick to overseeing more of our bigger marketing projects. So since January, we've hosted numerous meetings as a new team to brainstorm what needs to be measured more strategically, what tools are needed to do so, and what should be reported in order to influence our strategy going forward. So the team began to take advantage of media monitoring tools such as Meltwater and Sprout Social. So we were happy to finally be able to present to Brad recently an extremely detailed report of our Q3 results for April, May, and June on traditional media and social media. And we've narrowed down some of that information in a very brief presentation for you for our quick 10-minute takeaways from that report. So if you want to go back.
Wait.
Oh, yes.
Well, I'm trying to figure out how I get there. Hold on a second. Yikes.
Oh,
I lost the presentation. I don't know how to get
Do you
back to
want
where
that to be shown, that slide, Whitney? Are you ready for that?
yeah, you can start from the beginning. If you want to go to the number 2 slide. I think the previous slide.
This is my previous slide.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. Can you just hold that right there for just 1 second?
Yes.
I don't know why I'm having such a difficult time here today with this damned agenda thing. Hold on. I apologize. Well, I guess go ahead and continue without me.
We're all having technical difficulties and working through it together. We get it. Are you sure? Should we continue and you let us know if you catch up?
I'm just, I think this is gonna work. Hold on. Yay! That little blue line is moving. I think we're, oh, right. I'm good. Thank you. Sorry. Whitney.
No, no, you're fine. Okay, so with that, I just wanted to say we're gonna have Stephanie and Courtney go through some of our key takeaways from our Q3 report, which again had a lot more detailed information, but we're just gonna give you a few of our highlights. So I'll turn it over to Stephanie Ray.
All right, thank you, Whitney. Good morning, committee members. My name is Stephanie Rank, and I am the Public Relations Coordinator for PSTA. As you may or may not know, I do have a background as being a reporter for several TV stations across the country. And at PSTA, I found out we pride ourselves on thinking innovatively and strategically. And that doesn't stop when it comes to media strategy. So with the help of Meltwater, as Whitney mentioned, we've been tracking the success rate of our media coverage efforts through press releases, media events, pitching stories directly to reporters. Then, after each month, we evaluate what strategy worked, what didn't, and overall how we can do better in the eyes of the media. Next slide, please, Julie. So here you can see just a few of the headlines and stories about PSTA through Q3, which includes some Tampa Bay Times, ABC, the TV station, Tampa Bay Business Journal, and more, just showing how successful we were in Q3. Next slide, please, Julie. So here's an example of the Meltwater report that I've been giving. It's the reach by topics in Q3. Now, reach is defined by how many individuals might be able to see, read, or hear each communications item. So as you can see on this graph, the BRT allocation, which is that orange bar, reached 18.7 million people. Now that includes both broadcast and print stories. Another one that probably jumps out at you is positive CV-19 cases, the green bar at 26.2 million. Did you have a question, Commissioner Long?
Well, yeah, I'm running those numbers through my head, Stephanie, and it isn't lost on me that this reach is going way beyond Pinellas County, correct? Is there any way to determine whether or not it's, I mean, is it just all over the world? Is it all over the country?
Over the region.
Is it in the region?
It's all over the region.
The
Correct.
region.
Correct.
But how do we know what the reach is within Pinellas County?
That's the data that Meltwater presents, and the reach goes beyond that. So every time it's shared on social media, it reaches beyond, and people click on it. That's what Meltwater brings us.
No, I understand that. My question is there a way to fine tune it to the point where you know what the reach is within our
Yes,
county?
there is the way. We didn't show you on this particular presentation, but I can show you that definitely if you're interested in that.
If there's a way to find that out, I think Brad, I can't see any of the people on here right now, but Brad, are you listening?
Yes, I agree.
This could be extraordinarily helpful. Well, I don't understand any of this, but I do understand the graph, and it could be extraordinarily helpful when we start doing our outreach next year on the transportation stuff. Don't you agree?
Completely agree. Completely.
If we could fine tune it to determine what the touch is right within the county boundaries.
Exactly. Definitely. I will look into that for sure.
Keep going.
Go ahead, Steph.
All right. Well, so in an effort of transparency, every time we had a public-facing employee, back to that positive CV-19 cases bar, every time we had a public-facing employee that tested positive for coronavirus, we issued a press release that included the route that they were on so that the public was informed. That's the same with PSTA CV-19 safety measures, that far left blue bar at 14.7 million. We issued a press release, and I had conversations and even interviews with many reporters about our cleaning efforts, increasing social distancing on our buses, as well as keeping a maximum passenger load to not only keep our riders, but also our drivers safe as well. So one takeaway from Q3, the Reach by Topics report, was that being this transparent helps us build relationships with the media, as well as earns the trust of our community and our riders. Next slide, please, Julie. So speaking of relationships, creating these reports helps us just see how important our relationships are with specific journalists and reporters. For example, the difference in potential reach between broadcast and print is quite shocking. The total amount of stories that we had about PSTA in Q3 were 230, and that included 170 broadcast stories and only 60 were print stories. So as you can see by this graph, with those 60 print stories, we reached 76.1 million people. And with the broadcast, we reached 4 million. Now, this is not to say that broadcast is not important. It certainly is, especially me coming from a broadcast background. And we will definitely continue to pitch stories and continue to improve our relationships with TV reporters. However, this just shows the importance of getting stories published with the Tampa Bay Times, the Tampa Bay Business Journal, and all our other print media outlets. Our biggest player, though, based on reach data from Meltwater, is the Tampa Bay Times. So to keep that relationship and transparency healthy, we, as in me and our CEO, Brad Miller, have a monthly coffee or sit down or probably Zoom meetings for the foreseeable future with the Tampa Bay Times transportation reporter, Caitlin Johnston. And even our chair, who unfortunately isn't in attendance right now, but Joe Barkley has also begun to participate in those meetings with her. So again, this just keeps the relationship that we have with Caitlin honest and open, and that is what is key about getting our positive media out there about PSTA in the eyes of our community. So to summarize, we've taken all of this data from Meltwater and have seen what works, what doesn't, and what we can do better going forward. So for me, continuing to build that relationship with all our reporters and continuing to strengthen our relationship with print reporters is key, and will go a long way in keeping a positive and polished image of PSTA in the public. And with that, I'll pass it along to our social media coordinator, Courtney Grigsby.
Thank you, Stephanie. Good morning, executive committee members. My name is Courtney Grigsby, and I'm the digital marketing coordinator here at PSTA. My position is brand new at PSTA and is a testament to the dedicated efforts we are making to be more strategic with our social media efforts. The PSTA Marketing and Communications Department created my role so we can respond and go above and beyond to address social media needs, from breaking news to serving and responding to customers to find solutions.
Oh, Courtney, you're breaking up a little bit.
And concerns. When analyzing actual meltwater and sprout.
Courtney?
Courtney, we can't hear you.
Yeah. Hello, hello?
You freeze? Maybe. Can anybody hear her? I cannot hear her. Oh, she muted. Muted.
Hi, can everyone hear me? Sorry, I think I lost internet connection for a moment there.
Yes, we can hear you and see you now.
Okay, great. So I'll backtrack a little to make sure we're on the same page. Sorry about that, guys. So the one on the left was a post about hurricane season preparedness that included a motion graphic visual, a short video clip. And then the one on the right was an informational post about our virtual board meeting. And what we learned about these low performing posts was that our reminder posts and these motion graphic video clips tend to not perform as strongly as our other posts do, and it forces us to think more strategically on how to make content more engaging and how effective versus non-effective a motion graphic can be. Next slide, please, Julie. So here's an example of the highest performing post on Facebook for Q3. So handing out the bandana face coverings and 2 posts about the inductive wireless station were some of those top performing posts. And what we gathered here is our media events do in fact lead to positive coverage on social media, as evidenced by the electric charging station posts. and as well as posts that detail the proactive efforts we take as an agency to address rider needs, like when we handed out the free bandana face coverings to essential riders. And we take a look at these posts while keeping in mind that 55% of US adults get their news from social media either often or sometimes, according to a study done by the Pew Research Center. And this is why we add those break.
We lost you again.
Courtney, are you there?
Courtney? Okay.
Can everyone hear me? I'm sorry, I think my internet has cut out again. I apologize. Hopefully that does not happen again. So if you could go to the next slide, please, Julie.
Twitter.
Yes, so on Twitter, the initial no face covering, no bus service post, the BRT funding announcement event, and our thank you to Mayor Kreisman video all received the most engagement. And these are the 3 top performing tweets on Twitter from Q3, and they're all very different from the posts that we saw that performed well on Facebook for the same quarter. And this is exactly why we analyze the social media platforms PSTA uses like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn separately so we can tailor specific strategies to each. And for example, our audience on Facebook tends to be more so focused on riders, while on Twitter, it's more falling onto the political end of the spectrum, with also some reporters and transit professionals in the mix as well. So next slide, please, Julie. And lastly, we wanted to share our biggest and most exciting find of the quarter. PSTA made the decision to require masks on June 15th, and after the initial post on Facebook and Twitter, the neat part about this news is PSTA was among one of the first transit agencies in the state to require mandatory masks. And shortly after we sent this tweet, Stephanie received a call from the media inquiring about the content within this social media post. And then as you see on the right here, this is a story from ABC Action News that we received coverage on, all with the help of our social media account. And this is something we plan to look out for and implement in our social media strategy moving forward, especially on Twitter, where the media is active and in search of updates and potential stories. And the tweet itself with the announcement garnered 529 engagements, including the likes, retweets, and comments, while ABC Action News, the story resulted in a 1.4 million reach. And this just showcases the power of social media and furthermore, one single tweet. And this is exactly why we create these reports, to continue adapting our strategy when we make these findings and implement them moving forward so we can be as strategic as possible with the content we are putting out there on our social media accounts and channels. So with that, I'll hand it back over to Whitney. Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. If you could go to the next slide, Julie. So as a reminder, this was just a brief presentation of our takeaways from Q3 for April, May, and June. So for our social media and traditional media. So like we stated, I just wanted to reiterate that we were one of the first agencies and organizations to really require face masks, which got us a lot of coverage from the tweet that we sent out because we were really ahead of the curve. And this was a great learning experience for us to understand how to think more strategically moving forward and to implement more strategies similar to that one in order to get the most coverage and have the largest reach. I just wanted to remind you, we have a lot of exciting things coming up in Q4, and we're looking forward to collecting data from Q4 for July, August, and September, such as our Sunrunner branding unveiling and our autonomous vehicle project that's in the works. And just to really conclude this presentation, we're working hard in our department to promote PSTA's brand and really therefore your brand as the board and board members in a positive light to show the community the benefits of public transportation and the innovative work that we do and amazing leadership that we have. So we hope that this was insightful to you. This is just the tip of the iceberg of the data and information we've received, and we look forward to continuing to create monthly reports in our department as well as quarterly reports for Brad, and an annual report to look year over year what improvements we've made and be able to adapt and set real goals that are achievable for our team. Thank you so much for your time. And if you have any questions or concerns, please let us know.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any questions or comments from anybody? I don't know if Chair Barkley has rejoined us by phone or not.
I did forget one last thing I wanted to say to conclude the presentation. If you haven't already done so, if you have social media accounts, please make sure that you like and follow Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority. Feel free to comment, share, and like posts that we make or retweet our tweets, as well as attend our media events, of course, where we do get the traditional media coverage. So that's something that you can do to help us and support our efforts.
Whitney, thank you. That was going to be my question. I need to follow you more often. I think you guys are doing an incredible job. Thank you, all three of you, for your hard work. It's incredible what's going on with the PSTA. Thank you so much.
Yes, I agree. Thank you very much, Whitney. Yeah, definitely to the executive committee, follow PSTA on Twitter, LinkedIn now, Facebook, you name it, we got it. Okay, well, I think this is appropriate. Maybe Julie's on the phone, I don't know, trying to get our great chair back online, I don't know. But our last topic of the day was just sort of a follow-up with the executive committee to get your input on how our virtual meeting process is going. Really just want your input in this. Two things. One, we just got word that the governor did sign an executive order extending virtual meetings through the end of September. So we will have the August and September meetings in person. I mean, on Zoom. But Julie and Vu and her team is doing a great job in planning a way for us to get back safely when that happens. But that will still be for a little while. The other thing I wanted just to get your input on is you can see that each of us, Julie, well, at least on my screen, Julie, Alyssa, Stephanie, Whitney, Courtney, all have different backgrounds, different transit-y backgrounds to show off. And we can, and Trish has, well, she's copying mine too. So you can vote for your favorite. We can send you these for the meetings. Hear your thoughts on that too. So any comments, positive, constructive feedback on our virtual meetings?
Brad, I'll be happy to go first.
Okay, go.
Well, this pandemic is just a unique situation for all of us, but I want to just say that I really feel that the PSTA board members, the executive committee has come together to really work well. And all I can say is thank you so much for everyone's hard work. As far as the backgrounds that the marketing team has come up with, I have to be honest, I love them all. I can't pick any of them.
I think that says more about your positive personality than necessarily the different characteristics of the backgrounds. But
if I did have to pick one, Brad, I'm going to pick Stephanie's because I think that bus in the background, I like that. I like that with the way that bus looks. That's unique. So I would love to have that for my meetings.
Great. Mr. Driscoll, go ahead. You go ahead. I think you're muted.
Thank you, Brad. And that was great, Dan. I agree. Stephanie's is wonderful. I'm such a big fan of our trolleys that we operate. But I gotta say, if I had to pick one to use for myself, Alyssa's background is amazing because I can think of nothing better than to have Mr. Sun smiling at me throughout an entire meeting. So if I chose one for myself, that would be me. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Long, do you have a favorite or?
Well, I don't know if I have a favorite. I just have a comment about backgrounds, as we've had to deal with that quite a bit on the county commission.
True.
And whatever, I just think that's simpler. If it's simple, it's better, because anything else, while I really like, no offense, Gina, but while I really like Stephanie's background, it's very distracting. There's too much going on there, and I find it distracting. I love Mr. Sun, Alyssa. Who cannot love Mr. Sun? But again, we have a mission here to promote, PSTA. And I think just clean and simple is better. And it doesn't leave too much opportunity to critique in a very negative and spiteful way. So
True.
you can't be too careful in the world we live in. I'm telling you, it's impossible to please everybody.
That's right. That's right. That's a good point. This is very appropriate, I think, for this time. Julie just found out that Chair Barkley can't join us because he's on the telephone with Spectrum Wi-Fi cable to fix his Wi-Fi. We all have those electronic challenges. I think I want to thank Julie and the IT team for really doing a great job in getting us these Zoom meetings going so well, and the PSTA board has done a fantastic job in adapting. I mean, you guys are probably on Zoom 24/7 like we are, so we're kind of getting the hang of this. But thank you guys for hanging in there and work. And like Dan said, I think we're all kind of coming together on this, so it's going pretty well. So thank you. If there's no other business, does anyone else have anything else to say?
I have one more quick thing to say. Just wanted to make sure all the committee members are aware of the Sunrunner groundbreaking event this Monday at 10 a.m. at the Tropicana. Yes. Okay. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns. We're making sure we have hard hats and shovels reserved for all of you.
Great. Great. Okay. Well, on behalf of Chair Barkley, I will adjourn this meeting.
Stephanie, Whitney, are you bringing the baby?
No, the baby does not leave the house.
Oh, well, bring a picture then so we can see how much she's grown.
Okay, I will.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
See you Monday.
Bye.